Hello and welcome. Hi guys. Hi everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another GUBA Enterprise Talks. And this is your host, Mika Ephraim. So I just want to welcome you guys on. I hope everybody is tuning in. Welcome again to the GUBA Talks, and this is the impact of COVID-19 on the African fashion industry, and this is associated with Rock Your African Print. As you can see today, I'm rocking my African print, and I'm here in London trying to do as much as I can with my African print as well. But I'm welcoming you guys in. We have an amazing panel for you guys, which I will be introducing very, very soon. So I just want to welcome you all in. Speak to me, talk to me. Let me know where you are messaging from. I see a Melody Willis. Hello, how are you? Hope you are well. It's the same because I know everyone's in Ghana as well. So let me know where you're messaging from or where you're watching from, the UK, the USA, Ghana. Let me know. Let me know. This is going to be an amazing seminar. Hello. I can't wait for you guys to hear who we've got on the platform for you guys. We've got Kwaku Bediako, who we're going to be talking to, Mariatu from Gitas Portas. We'll also be speaking to Ekow Barnes, hopefully. So many amazing people who will be leading you and speaking to you guys as well. So please comment, let us know that you're watching and where you are watching from. For those who don't know who I am, hi, okay, who else is here? Hi, Priscilla. Hello, how are you? Greetings to you. Melody is watching from Chicago. Hi, welcome. How is it over there? How's lockdown been? I know that we're in a little... Everything is going across the world. I know it's a bit crazy, but we welcome you guys here. Hello, Chrissy. Welcome to you. Please make sure that you are sharing. Share this link out with your friends who are interested in fashion. This is going to be very, very important because we're discussing the impact of COVID-19 on the African fashion industry. Now, as a creative myself, I know that the COVID-19 has affected us very, very much so. A lot of us are freelancers, we're consultants, and we're having to deal with the impact that coronavirus has hit us with. So we're going to be discussing how important the African fashion industry is in general, how long it's been around, but the impact of what's been happening in terms of everything in Africa, how we're dealing with textile print, how fashion houses are dealing with COVID-19, how even fashion writers and bloggers are dealing with COVID-19 and how it's affecting their business, but also have a deeper understanding of how we can overcome as a community of people in the fashion industry, how we can overcome this coronavirus thing, because the virus or whatever it is right now, and see how we can make the fashion industry better and see what conventional ways we can still have the fashion industry popping. So I'm going to get you guys to keep saying hi, hello, hi Chrissy, hello Lucy, hello, greetings to you all, greetings to you. I should give a brief bio about myself. I'm Mika Ephraim, Ofori-Atta. I am a creative consultant. I actually come from the music side of things, but I've now delved into more creative things that's dealing with fashion, people in the fashion industry, people in the film, the whole creative sector. I also deal with brand partnerships. So this is definitely something that I myself will be learning more about and seeing how we can help increase and develop in the fashion industry. So please make sure you are sharing this link and you are sending people this link as well, because it's going to be a very, very informative conversation. Oh, hold on. Okay, perfect. So keep sending in your greetings, guys. Keep sending in your greetings. Let me know that you are watching. Send in your links and everything, and we can get this show on the road. Okay. Perfect. I'm super excited. There are so many amazing people on this panel who I've been following for a while and watching their work and seeing what they're doing. So it will be very, very good. And I hope that you guys will be able to ask questions as well Please make sure that anything that you hear, that you were able to ask questions, don't hesitate to ask anything as well. And we will make sure that they hear or see, and we'll make sure that they read it out as well. And we get those questions answered for you guys. So let's see. Vesta, welcome. Really looking forward to this conversation. Me too. Hello, John. Hello, Ellen. We cannot wait. I'm also excited. I can't wait either. I'm ready to start. Let me know where you guys are messaging from as well, where you guys are watching from. How's the lockdown treating you? In London, we're still in lockdown, partial lockdown, in lockdown, but not in lockdown. But let us know how you've been dealing with lockdown. And also, are you guys still keeping up with your fashion? Are you guys still looking good indoors, or you're just in your tracksuits like we are? Hello, Jacqueline Brown. Vesta says she's really looking forward to this conversation. Amazing. I'm super excited. Cannot wait. I cannot wait either. Cannot wait either. I'm here to learn just as much as you guys as well. So even if I'm asking questions, please ask questions with me, because I feel like the fashion industry is something that we have to be speaking about, especially in this time. We've seen so many amazing things happen over the course of this coronavirus season. We've seen innovation at its finest. We've seen creativity at its finest. So it's only right that we have this conversation. John says in lockdown, still in London, still in lockdown. I know, and I cannot wait. But hopefully the coronavirus will be out soon, so we're all able to get back to our new normal, let's just say. Keep the greetings coming, guys. Keep the greetings coming. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so the first person I'm going to start off with now, I've been following his work for a very, very, very long time. I first heard of him when I was, during the year of return, and Steve Harvey actually came to Ghana and was gifted this amazing, beautiful kaftan. And I was like, who gave him this kaftan? I need to find out who it was. And I found out it was a guy called Kwaku Bediako, and he is the founder of Chocolate Clothing. So we're going to be speaking to him right now. This guy's amazing. I'm good. He's joining us. Hello.
Hey, Mika. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Kwaku?
I'm good. I'm loving your scarf.
Thank you. I'm trying. In this coronavirus season, I left, and my plan was to come back to Ghana, but the borders are closed. So I'm stuck.
So you decided to be trendy in your home. Okay.
Oh, I have to. Because I know that I was coming to interview you guys. I didn't want to let the fashion industry down. So I said, let me come and look good for you guys.
And you chose to match me as well. Interesting, Oh,
I didn't. Wow. Yes. Obviously, being in fashion, there's no way that you come in here and not give us, style, gentlemen, and class.
You have to come with your best.
You have to come with your best. I love
it. See the people on the panel. These guys are ready for you. They are ready to eat you up.
Listen. So before we go into anything, the one thing I would love for you to because I even want to know more about you, because I was explaining to everybody that the first time I've heard of you before through you were actually designing for the Ghanaian national sports team. And I remember I saw the outfits with the Ghana flag. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was the kaftans and everything that you created. So I wanted to know more about where you started from, because some people may have encountered you from when Steve Harvey spoke about your clothing line, or even before that. So for those who don't know who you are, tell us who you are and how you got into what you got into to Chocolate Foundation. Sorry.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's quite an honor, and it's quite refreshing. This COVID season has been both, how do I qualify this? Has been both, has its own pros and cons, if I'm to say that. And, I feel refreshed, if I'm to say so. Yeah. But, you're right. With chocolate, we did start off a couple of years back, but our first major breakthrough was actually during the World Cup 2014. Mm-hmm. where we got the privilege to clothe the Black Stars and a couple of the entourage that actually escorted the Black Stars team to Brazil. So you can say post then we got a lot of attention, a lot of mileage,
Yeah.
and quite interesting. A lot of people don't know this. My inner core knows this, but I remember I still remember this like yesterday. I remember getting a call from Denta a couple of years ago. Yo, listen, Denta and I, we go way back. She actually gave me a call. She's like, yo, Charlie, congratulations. I'm like, okay, on. I mean, I guess all the hard work paid off, and so we're privileged to clothe the national team from their, I think, partly most of their off-pitch outfits to some of their casual outfits. But I think we've grown a lot. Post then, we had the opportunity to be featured on CNN, which was 2015, 2016, and the feature on that episode was based on we clothing the Black Stars and our sudden appearance into the scene. And I guess from there it's been amazing. We've done a couple of interviews on Vogue.com, Vogue.uk.
Wow.
We've done BBC, TV, radio, Facebook Live. We've done. I mean, there's been a lot. We've had a privilege of clothing different celebrities. From Ghana to the rest of Africa to the US. I think names go on and on and on. I don't know whether we have all the time to go through the list. Yes, Idris, Steve Harvey,
loving this.
Jamie Foxx.
Wow.
And a bunch of different ambassadors and people who've endorsed the business, the brand, to this point. But again, I'll say this: we did start off as a brand that has always wanted to go global. We've always said the goal was to be the biggest menswear brand in the world from Africa, or menswear lifestyle brand in the world from Africa. And so we are being guided by these goals, and we're pushing, and we're making it happen. And the world hasn't seen it all. There's a lot coming.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think it's so inspirational because I think all around the world we see the image of an African man, and right now in the time where everyone's protesting that we need to power our community. We have the likes of yourself who has been staying true to your roots of providing men, being the classic African man, and that's what I see your clothing as, giving the African man the classic look, which I love. I'm a big fan of kaftans. I think everyone should embrace their heritage, wear the kente, wear the everything. But I love how you took something and made it so modern, so everybody can wear it, whether you are African or not African. And that's what I love about your clothing. So I was reading and I found out originally it was actually women's wear that you started off with. That's because a lot of the times, when you meet male designers, they cater for the males, and I always say that a man really knows a woman's body in terms of what they would like a woman to see. So it's very interesting.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, yes, we do. It's very interesting how you started off doing women's wear. So what was that transition like going from, in fact, tell us about the start of chocolate clothing. Okay. That's the one thing that people need to know.
So this is quite interesting. So I'm originally a science student. I read science. I read all the science-based courses. I think I was heading towards either a doctor or some dentist or something. I don't know what I wanted to do, but anyways, I was born into a science family. My parents are both professors. My dad is a plant pathologist, a professor in plant pathology. My mom is a professor in botany. And, all my siblings read science. Currently, we're having a biochemist to a molecular biologist to a stem cell researcher to a nursing now turned public health individual. So it's just been, I was born into that kind of family. Mm-hmm. But I guess, I've always been a creative chap. I've always loved lifestyle. I quite remember when I got when I was in secondary school, I couldn't count the number of pairs of shoes I had. Uni got worse. I wanted to customize everything I was wearing. But in a nutshell, I've always been different.
Yeah.
So, being that interesting shade of black sheep in the family. I was always destined, I knew that I was going to eventually get into a different sector other than the rest of my siblings.
Yeah.
And so right after uni, I've always been involved in lifestyle. I said we used to throw different parties and get people to come through, make some sales here and there. I've always been a dancer. I've just really been into the lifestyle of perfumes. Like I've just been a guy.
You're really about the lifestyle, basically. The lifestyle is you.
Yes,
you the lifestyle.
Yeah. So I guess when I finished, I initially started writing movie scripts. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to get into Hollywood. Quite interestingly, that didn't happen. And so I continued my events that I used to do, and through that I met a couple of people who kind of like ushered me into the marketing communication field. And whilst I was there, I discovered the word thinking outside the box and being outside the box, because I realized that I was always outside the box. I was always different. You couldn't really understand my moves, what I do, who I was, how just how I was in general, right? So I think I got a chance to experience different things whilst doing advertising, different fields. I experienced the hotel industry, pharmaceuticals, like all the different industries that are there. And I think I was in tune with, again, what lifestyle had to offer. Yeah. The sister I follow, is very trendy, very fashionable. And I guess, we got talking, and anytime she has an event, she always used to come to me. Yo, listen, I'm going here. What do you think I should wear? Gave her, a couple of gifs here and there, a couple of tips here and there. And then through that, I think I got the wind. Okay, how about, I explain things to her. She takes it to her seamstress or the tailor. They don't seem to get it. Okay, how about, I take it upon myself to do it. Now, the crux of this whole fashion story dates back to when we were all kids. My mom bought us all sewing machines whilst we were kids. And so I learned how to sew when I was about 5. I learned how to do so many things when I was young. I learned how to play chess when I was young, learned how to cook when I was young, and learned how to sew when I was young, learned how to clean. Like, listen, if I clean your room for you, yo, lockdown or no lockdown, you call me back to come and clean your room.
I feel like a lot of people will need that service soon.
Yes. We were taught to be very meticulous, etc. So I guess taking it back and going back into the stuff I learned from my mom, and then going to different tailors around where I used to work that time in advertising, to get them to fine tune what I was doing was a big challenge for me. So I learned it the women way, started making stuff for my sister, my friends' girlfriends, some of my female friends, etc. Till, when I got to a point and I realized that there were I felt that the industry was a little bit saturated, and there was a gap in the men's field. Men were not really paying attention to what they wear, they're busy making too much money. Okay, you know what? How about if we're able to get if we're able to flip what they are not used to, okay? Yeah. There were very few, maybe about 2% of African men that really enjoyed African wear. Okay, how about if we give them a different look to what they're used to, and then to offer people like me, who are never a big fan of African wear, a repackaged form of what we do, and to sort of build that new Africa in the form of our clothes.
And do you know what? You touched on something so important, because I think, those of us in the diaspora, growing up in, seeing our parents wearing, clothes in the Western world, you don't really see your parents wearing as much African print as you would if you're back home. So, you know, now you're seeing the fact that people are taking pride in wearing African print. For me, I love wearing African print wherever I can. I love it bold and proud and out there. But you saw an opportunity in a time where people would have deemed like not comfortable to wear it.
Yeah. It was a difficult time for me. I've always liked challenges. I've never liked the shortcuts. I think shortcuts are boring. Sorry again. So I think shortcuts are boring for me. I like adventure. I like challenges. So I guess, you know, for me, I was inspired by the level of change that we could bring to the industry. I was excited about the difference that we're bringing to the industry. And most importantly, you know, I think culture for me goes beyond just clothes, our names, the kind of food we eat, etc. And you know, for someone like me, my parents never gave me an English name. None of my siblings have English names. Right. You know, there's Kwaku Bediako Joe, there's Kodrasari Joe, there's Ikuya Fusia Joe, there's Ikuya Kwaso Joe, you know, there's Ama. I think that's it. Ama, I need to remember her. But bottom line is, you know, we don't have English names, right? Right. And so I've always grown up, always appreciating and always feeling free to rock and then how do you call it? Sell out who I am as a person and what my culture has always been about. You know, whilst a lot of people end up, I mean, we had access to eat all the lasagnas and all the you know, all them westernized stuff. But you know, for example, every time, I've never said this on any platform, anytime it was any of our birthdays, my mom used to prepare what we call eto. Eto is pretty much mashed yam or mashed plantain, both ripe and unripe, depending on the tribe you're from, or even mashed cocoyams, right? Or even mashed potatoes with oil and onions and egg and, you know, granules, and like, it's just a whole mix of, it's a different vibe, right? That was our birthday cake. That was our birthday cake. And, you know, I was so touched. 3 weeks ago was my birthday. And then one of my favorite people on this world, she makes the most amazing meals in the whole wide world. She's called Fiona Foods. Actually surprised me with a whole eto cake. Like, it literally was a cake that was mashed yam with granules and all that. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, like, this is what I'm talking about. This is we going about flaunting what our names are and giving people a reason for them to bite their tongues. You know, it's okay to have people call Swarovski and Lobodowski and all them names. It's okay. But, you know, if we have rich names like Kwaku Bediako Ojo, that carries so much narrative, which carries so much sense. But again, we are not able to, thanks, mommy. Anyways, yeah, so, you know, that carries so much meaning, that carries so much.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to you, Kwaku, as well. So keep on to what you're saying. Please keep on to what you're saying, because that's going to be a big conversation when we come back. So please hold on to what you're saying. We're going to move on to the next person really quickly, and we're going to bring everyone back on. Yes, thank you so much. Again, that was Kwaku Bediako, and now we're with the one and only Claudia Lumor. Hello.
Hi. Hello, hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So just a quick introduction for those who don't know who Claudia is, well, you should know. She is the founder of Glitz Africa magazine and the Glitz Style Awards, the amazing Glitz Style Awards that everyone always watches out for, everyone's outfits on Instagram as well. She's also the executive producer of Glitz African Fashion Week in Ghana. So we welcome you to Rock Your African Prints. As you can see, we have some amazing outfits that was featured at the Glitz Africa Awards. So please, Claudia, if you can, tell us who you are and how you started Glitz Africa. Where did the inspiration come from?
Okay, I'll try and keep it simple because I know you have a lot of people to talk to. But my background is banking. So I lived in the UK for a very long time, and I was working in the bank in the UK, and I moved to Ghana to work in the bank still. But I think whilst I was in the bank, when I moved to Ghana, I was looking for something to do. And I've always loved magazines. And I did realize at the time in Ghana that we didn't have anything that was celebrating our people, our own. And also, if they were doing it, I felt like there were better ways of doing it, So my passion really was to, how do we tell our story or celebrate our people in a very tasteful manner?
Yes.
So I think that brought up the magazine. And I've moved back home. I was also looking for something different to do apart from working in the bank.
Yeah.
And I've always loved bowling. I've always loved magazine, but I couldn't open a bowling club. So I thought, okay, then I'll research into the magazines. And as they say, the rest has been history. So I started the magazine, and from the magazine came the Fashion Week, came Style Awards, came Ghana Women of the Year honors. And and now we're more publishing house, so we publish magazines for other people as well.
Wow.
And then
okay.
We also do event production for other corporate clients as well. So
yeah. So with the publication, I know that Glitz Africa is one of my favorite magazines, especially when I'm in Ghana. That's something that I always run to go and look at. Because it just represents such a style and grace that a lot of our African parents, our mothers, even inspire us, and to see in magazine form is amazing. So for you, what would you say was the starting point of you birthing Glitz Africa?
I think it just all stemmed from me being abroad, and I was one of the people that was tired of people thinking that Africa is all people who are hungry, and you hear all these questions about Africa. I've always been one of these people, and I felt like, I always say there's no difference between us and what we had in the UK or in America, and I just wanted us to tell tasteful sides or tasteful stories that tell, or really change the narrative, tell a different narrative about Africa. And I wanted us to do it in a very tasteful manner. So I think it really comes from that. I wanted us to celebrate our own, tell our story, tell the African story, but really in a very tasteful manner. That people will be proud of. Nobody's going to come to Africa and invest if all they are hearing is, people, there's sickness here, there, all of that. But it's not what it is. We have everything. That it happens in the same way that elsewhere we have people who are poor, we have middle class, and we have rich people. It's the same everywhere. And I just really wanted that respect for our continent. That is not what sometimes we see out there. So I think it just really came from that.
And now obviously the main topic is the impact of coronavirus on the fashion industry. So for you, with everything that's happening around the world, coronavirus is shutting everything down. Every industry is kind of at a pause right now, or not at its full place. How has COVID-19 affected Glitz Africa company?
It is affected us hugely because we are an event production company. And I think everybody will tell you that this thing, one of the industries that's really hits massively is tourism, or you can say F&B industry, like people in tourism and events. Our business is gathering people, and that's what COVID is not for. So basically, even I was telling somebody that even when the president released the restrictions, we were still saying that our industry was still on lockdown because we're in the business of gathering people, and we can't gather people now. So it's hugely impacted on us. And also we work for a lot of clients, huge corporate clients as well. And they also some of them had to cancel launches of products, conferences and things like that. And that's what the business we do. So it's really affected us. But in terms of our own event calendar, I think one that was hit straight away was Ghana Women of the Year honors. Because that was in April, and this was the 5th year. So we have to move it onto further notice. At the moment, we're looking at end of August or September, but we're still talking to our board to see when we can it will be safer to do it, and how, if we're going to do it, how it's going to be done, because things are not going to be the same anymore. We can't
of course, definitely not
the way we used to do again. So that is really, it's been a huge impact. But for me, I don't allow things to put us down. I always say that what would be the positive? What can we get out of this? Mind you, I mean, digital wasn't a business people were looking into, but now people are paying attention to digital. So what can we provide to our clients when it comes to digital? So now we're doing more of that, creating digital content for our clients, and really try to turn it around, and not, just say, okay, everything is gone or things are that bad.
Yeah, because I guess it's about finding an opportunity within the crisis that's happening now. Because as much as, people still need to create, people actually really look at Glitz Africa for inspiration in so many things that they do. So it's important that drive, that still keeps going on and it doesn't stop. So within this, let's say, season where everything's locked down, what opportunity have you found within the crisis?
Opportunity that I have found.
Yes.
I think one of the key thing, and it's not just even me. I mean, just looking at the industry, I've seen a lot of designers that they would have sent their workers home, turn it around and making masks and making PPEs and things like that for businesses. So some people have been really smart about it. You can't just sit there and, come to think about it, if you are not sick, you are in a better place than every other person.
Yeah.
Because the worst is you could be sick and you could be in a hospital, or you could be sick and in isolation. So if you are not in that situation, what can you take, or what can you do to make your life better and for others? And for us, what we've done is to really look at the whole thing and see how we can still use our brand to support the clients that we work with. So we've touched base with all our clients, and we've been that, we have our platform is still there. We want to be able to still work with you and help you through all of this, because it's actually not a good time for brands to say, okay, we are not doing anything. It is a best time for people
to actually
still come out and promote their brand and still do brand awareness, but now do it in a different way. So that is a solution. We are working with our clients to give them that solution. So I think the opportunity or the learning for me has always been, just not closing your mind to something. I've never been that person anyway, because I don't allow like a wall or something to block me. If I can't go to here, I will look for different other ways to get to where I want to get to. So, COVID or no COVID, we have to work. We have to put food on our table, and we have to support our staff. We have to support people that we work with. So you can't just allow that to happen. You just need to really stay creative in this movement. So that's what we've been doing.
So I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a designer, Hanifa, who created an actual digital online fashion show. Now that was, in a way, to the rest of the social world, was the most innovative thing, especially in a time where we can't go to fashion weeks anymore. Right now everyone's doing 2 meters distance and 2 social distance and everything. Do you think that's what the fashion industry could be turning towards, especially since you are executive producer of Glitz African Fashion Week? Where do you see that going? What's the new normal for that now?
I think in the short term, it will impact, the way we do events and for the industry, but I don't see that being a long-term plan, but I feel like in this short term, it was just amazing how he launched it. I mean, for me, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is definitely from a Black woman.
Yes.
Because seeing how curvy, the show, the models were walking and everything, I was like, wow, okay. So I think a lot of shows, people are doing virtual shows.
Right.
So in the short term, that will work, but we have to be realistic about this. Is this something that we can sustain? So somehow, I think one thing that this is bringing to us is we need to pay attention to virtual. Before, if we said that, okay, we're doing a show and we'll stream it live, it might not be a priority for us because we have the right people in the room. Why would I stream it live? But now that is forever going to be a big part of what we do. So in the short term, I feel like it will have an impact, because this year, if you're still going to launch your collection or going to showcase something, we'll have to look for different ways, some indoors, some virtual and all of that. But in the long run, COVID, somehow we're going to learn to live with it, and somehow there's going to be a vaccine, and life will probably gradually, maybe not now, maybe another year or two, but We will get back to where we used to be, and we
Yeah.
will learn how to live with COVID, and there will be vaccine and all of that. We all pray. But I think it's really taught us one thing, that we should not ignore how small the world is and the importance of digital, because everything that's happening, even in America, is all digital. It's
Yeah.
happening in the world at a time that is social distancing, but we feel so connected and so close to it. It's because of digital. So I think it's showing us one big thing, the impact of digital in whatever we do. And it's now we're ever going to add it to whatever we do.
That's so true. It's innovation and creativity at the finest. Abner, the actor, said, "Great tips. Never give up. There are many roads to success." That is very, very true. Even during this time, what would you say to those young ones who are trying to create a fashion house during the season of COVID-19?
What I would say is, it's not a time for us to look down. It's the time for us to look up. You need to stay creative. You need to stay innovative, but also do not be in a rush. You understand? So if you are now trying to do something, it might not be the year to release your collection if you are yet to do it, or you are now getting into it. Maybe this is the year for you to learn more, research more, look at your brand more, your brand strategy. How, sometimes I meet designers and young emerging designers. We have a big young emerging designers competition or workshop and training that we do with a lot of young people. And we've had over 100 designers that have gone through that program. And sometimes when we meet them, their passion behind why they want to do or set up their fashion brand scares me. Because some of them, I want to do dresses. You want to do wedding dresses because Pistis has been successful doing wedding dresses, or you want to do African infused clothes because Aisha and Christy Brown has been successful doing it. What is your identity? Who are you selling to? Who is your market? So I just feel like young people, this is a time that is allowing, everything is on a pause. So don't be in a rush to launch your collection if you haven't done it, or launch your brand. Maybe this is the time to really sit back and learn about the industry you're trying to get to. Learn, put together your better business plan, look into it. Maybe you're not looking into a website. Now it's teaching you that maybe you need to start building your own website so people can reach you digitally. So I think people even brands that are already set up, they're now going back to really look at their model, their business model, to see how they can make it better. And the new world we're going into, how do you fit your business? How do you come out of a pandemic and still be strong and still be relevant and sustainable? So that's what I think they should be looking at, not being in a rush to be the next big Christy Brown or the next big Pistis or the next big Larry da Silva.
Yeah, even for yourself and your brand, what was one of the hardest things that you had to kind of deal with in this coronavirus? Because I know for a lot of people, everyone is trying, and this pandemic is new to everybody. Not everybody's experienced this before. Some people have not gone through this in their lifetime. For you, what were the things that you had to kind of deal with in order for you to make it out?
I think when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of people depend on you. So for me, it's not just about me. It's just the pain to watch that, oh my God, I have to shut my office. Because we've shut our office for months. We actually just started coming back to work like 2 days in a week, just like last week, just last week or so. So it's just that watching that you have people that depend on you. And it's not just your staff. You have other people that we hire a lot of people because of the production we do. Even my carpenters are people that I care about. So we're thinking that, it's just our office being shut. No, your light person doesn't have a job. Your DJ doesn't have a job. Your carpenter doesn't have a job. So it's all that pressure on me. I think has been one of the hardest things to deal with. And in the same way, it also made me not to sit down and just sleep and watch TV because, God, hooray, it's lockdown. Let's just sleep and just, eat. No, it made me now take a book and a pen and a paper to say that, how do I turn this?
Oh, they're back. Oh, I think we've lost your sound, Claudia. Oh, I think we've lost your sound. Okay. Oh, we've lost Claudia. Hopefully we get her back real quick. But for those who've just tuned in, welcome again. This is Rock Your African Print. This is the GUBA Enterprise Talks, and we are talking about the impact of coronavirus on the fashion industry. We've had Kwaku Bediako from the chocolate clothing speaking to us, and we've just had Claudia, who we've just lost. But no problems, we're gonna bring on our next guest, and she is from Gitas Porters. Her name is Mariatu, so we're gonna welcome her. Hello. How are you?
Very much. I'm very well, thank you. How's everybody?
I'm fine. Everybody, I'm hoping everyone's good. I'm loving the ensemble. Please tell us about your outfits.
This is part of our new sort of collection, and this is a maxi dress. You can't see the full length, but of course, if you go on our website, you see the full length of this dress. It's a maxi dress, and it's called the Rosie Mini. It's part of a series of maxi dresses that we've done before, but we've brought it out again in new prints. It's very popular. It's very one of those sort of dresses that you can dress up or dress down. It's very flexible. It's very easygoing, perfect for if you like warm weather. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful. So please tell us about yourself, how you started and where Gitas Portal came from.
All right. Well, as you've already said, I'm Mariatu Turay-Akar. I'm the founder of Gitas Portal, and we're a brand that predominantly focuses on women. And so we produce, clothing and accessories using, of course, African textiles. But we're a brand with a purpose, as I like to say. We're just not about producing beautiful products. We're also about promoting a positive narrative about brand Africa. And we do that through, of course, the work that we do, which is our sphere of influence. Because one of the things I found out on leaving Sierra Leone at the age of about 15, 16 during the Civil War and coming to the West was the way Africa was perceived, which to my mind, being that I grew up in Africa where everybody is my skin color, and if you like, we are the majority, half of the perceptions that I came across were like alien to me. And I thought, oh, wow, this is an Africa that you're speaking about that you've never even been to. So how can I start to challenge that? And so I've used, Gitas Portal and the sort of medium of fashion, because I think fashion is one of those sort of mediums that you can really start a lot of conversations around. Right. I found that very simply when I started off here in London by just having sort of market stalls. The bright colors would attract people that would not normally, I guess, stop and have a conversation with me on the road. And it was just that sort of environment that allowed me to start to have conversations where I could sort of push back and sort of talk about an Africa that I knew because I grew up there. So hearing people talk about an Africa that in many cases they had never been to, or if they'd been to Africa, it'd been, on a tourist visa for 1 week or 2 weeks, I thought they weren't really equipped to talk about Africa. And I think that's where our brand comes in, because I've always been passionate about saying to people that, we need to be on the front foot of our narrative. We need to tell our stories, and nobody can tell it better than us. Yes, so I've been an advocate of pushing that. But having said that as well, part of what we're about is also about women. I'm a woman myself. As you can see, I've had a lot of challenges during my journey. And I know what it's like to be an African woman, to face struggles, not only back home, but coming to the West. And so part of what we try to do as well as part of a brand is to inspire and empower women to have a winning attitude. I really believe that, the way the world is, women need to really step up. And I think we are, even though we have a lot of challenges that we have to face. But, the world and the change that we want to see, I think, is in the hands of us as women. And it comes from a place of us beginning to believe in what we bring to the table, a place of us sort of having a winning mentality. And I've definitely, if you read about my journey story, winning mentality is very much part and parcel of the way I approach life, that no matter what you go through, you always have to get up and push and fight for what you want. And there's no harm in fighting for what you want. And so as a brand, we're all about, saying to women, there is power in your story. Share those stories. Let's learn from each other. Let's support each other. And so we launched a campaign sort of last year about, the power in our stories. Our stories can change the world. And it's all about just bringing everyday women together. And there's power in the story of the ordinary women. We're not talking about women like the Oprah Winfreys or the Michelle Obamas. Yes, we hear about them all the time. But during the course of our journey as a fashion brand, I meet a lot of women that my mouth drops when I hear what they're doing in communities, what they're doing in homes. And these are the real stories that we need to hear, that will connect one woman to another and sort of build that, sort of chain reaction of empowerment and the belief that we can go forward and win. And so, as we like to say, our strapline is, be bold, win, and wear color. Because there's nothing more exciting as well when a woman is dressed up. You step up with a different sort of, spring to your step, and a sort of fight attitude when you feel good and you look good. So, in a nutshell, that's what we are as a brand. My fashion journey was in no way, I guess, the sort of mainstream fashion journey that you expect, in that I didn't go to fashion school. I went instead and did what every African child does when your parents tell you to go and study and get some solid, qualifications behind it. I did that, and then found myself working in the UK government as a policy analyst and a senior policy advisor for about 13 years. But alongside that was always this burning passion, because when I was growing up in Sierra Leone, a lot of my aunts, the women around me, were entrepreneurs. They sold in markets, they had their own businesses. So I grew up around, of course, the print, and I loved it. So for me, it was just a natural extension. It wasn't deliberate. I didn't make a beeline for fashion at all. It just sort of happened organically. And as it did, as you know, with, what you're passionate about, I always say that when you're passionate about something and you invest in it, it's like a tree. You start off with a stem, but other branches start to flow from that. And so that's how I've sort of found myself in this space.
That is absolutely amazing. Hearing your story right now is very, very inspirational. Just even the standpoint of what your company stands for, being bold and just being proud of who you are, being an African woman, being proud that you are African, especially in this time right now where a lot of our brothers and sisters are fighting to be heard, are protesting to be heard, and are protesting to be seen as people, as one united people as well. So having people like yourselves, and even things like this that the GUBA is doing, we have to applaud them, because you're shining a light on so many things that need to be highlighted on, but also encouraging women to step into their boldness and be who they're meant to be. So that's amazing. I know that everyone is agreeing with me. You have comments that are saying that they're inspired, good advice. So sorry, you just kind of blew me away. That was amazing. Going into, obviously, with your company, the topic that we're talking about is COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 has come and shut people down. Something so small is literally taken people to different places. How has COVID-19 affected your business?
Well, like a lot of businesses out there, I'm a small business owner. And I guess with African fashion businesses, there are particular challenges that you wouldn't find mainstream businesses having to deal with. So, of course, being that I am based in the UK, I also have connections to back home, because part of what we do is also trying to see how we can create employment, or how we can help, artisans and small businesses back home. So, of course, with everything that happened with COVID, and to put this into context, even though we're based in the UK, a lot of our income is derived from the UK, Europe, and the US. And in terms of how our business is structured, yes, we have our online presence, but a good percentage of our income comes from, of course, face-to-face engagement. So doing pop-ups, doing events here in the UK as well as overseas. So with the way COVID developed, it was so fast that what we saw was that a lot of these sort of areas where we have our customers sort of more or less got impacted more or less simultaneously, if you like. Yeah. So what we found was that more or less overnight, our income just was wiped out, if you like, because, and you could anticipate that, because as people began to worry and, wonder what was going to happen as, this sort of information trickled through and you saw governments reacting to it. Of course, people like myself in this sort of business that we're in, we saw people sort of spending shift from, non-essentials to essentials. So, of course, even myself, my spending behavior reflected that. And that definitely had an immediate impact. And my concern at the time was, of course, my African suppliers, because unlike, I guess, the mainstream fashion industry where big brands can sort of put in orders and they receive their orders and then pay maybe 60 days later, with people like myself, sometimes you're having to pay upfront or pay a percentage upfront so that you will enable those suppliers to start, producing or working on the stuff that you want. And then the moment they sort of finish, they're like on the phone to you and you have to send that money through. So it was that sort of suddenness of everything, that sort of immediate shakeup meant that it was a very tricky situation for us, because then it meant having sort of delicate conversations, not only with suppliers back home, for whom that, they're living on a daily basis and they need that money, but also having conversations with suppliers here as well. And, these relationships have been built over a long time. So trying to manage those relationships was quite tricky at the time, as well as making sure that getting some amount of funds through, because the thing is that we over here, I guess, we have the benefit of having governments and systems that provided some sort of support. Back home, there's nothing like that. That's nothing. True. Nobody can go and apply for a COVID sustenance grant or unemployment benefit. So it was a real worry in terms of how we could continue to sustain, even though it was hard for us to do that. And then, it was the whole thing again about customers, understand? How do we, I guess, remain not only relevant, but sort of keep ourselves recent in the customer's mind? So it did mean that all of a sudden, sales was no longer a concern. It was like, how do we continue to be relevant to our customers? How do we prove ourselves useful? And that was a major challenge for us at the time, because when you're seeing a country that is still trying to find its way,
right,
it was like, how can we be relevant? How can we be useful when everybody's trying to come up with solutions? And I think that was where, for us, being a Christian brand as well, it was just a godsend when I said, you know what, Father, thank you so much that we are able to use our talent and our skills. It meant rallying my family, but to be able to sort of pivot into making masks. And once we realized...
Sorry to cut. There was something that you actually mentioned. You gathered people around you. So a lot of
my immediate family.
Right. And a lot of the times we kind of see that in this time, we tend to want to go outside and look for external help, when meanwhile, the help is literally around us. And that was what you used essentially to rebuild or to make sure that your company stays afloat.
To keep our company sort of, alive till that time when we hope things will start to sort of pick up again. And, but even if you wanted to go outside, it was more or less impossible. I mean? So you had to think on your feet and sort of be, I guess, creative and innovative in that space within what you had available to you. And that's what we did. And so for us, I think the fact that we were able to sort of pivot or diversify and start to make masks was a very humbling experience as well for us to be able to serve. If you know what I mean. It was just beautiful to see my 8-year-old sort of, coming into a home environment production sort of line, and see my teenagers all sort of helping. And it just made us feel useful and relevant, if you know what I mean, because you're seeing a world that's crumbling and it's just not happening here. Everywhere you turn, you're seeing people having the same issues, the same worries, the same fears. And I just felt as a woman, what can I do? What can we do as a brand? And as I said, the fact that we were able to, if you like, use our resources and become a problem solver, I think that's how we see it. And I see that replicated, across, the world, and particularly Africa. Look at what happened with Kenya when the Kenyan government sort of called, the fashion industry together and commissioned them to start to produce masks and PPE, everything. And I think that was really beautiful. And the same in Ghana. Yeah.
Do you think there's a lack of governmental support when it comes to the fashion industry? Because I see, especially in this time, we're focusing on health and everything else like that, but we're kind of forgetting like the fashion is important as well. The mask, as you said, it was the fashion designers that actually came up and created those PPE masks for people. So do you think that the government tend to fall back and relax when it comes to the fashion industry in Africa, or it's just they just kind of brush it aside?
I don't think it's a fall back and relax situation. It's a situation of priorities. Let's be fair. When we look at Africa, we have a lot of things that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
And in that list of things that governments have to deal with, there are other things that are, I guess, a bit more of a priority to deal with. Now, of course, the beauty of what's happened here is that with, I guess, Asia being cut off, we were forced to have to think and look at what's in our own backyard.
Yes.
Which in a way has forced governments to recognize and realize, that there are these industries that they need to invest in. And we're seeing some of that happening, because I mentioned Kenya, and I see that with Ghana as well, because I think Ghana is also putting some funds up front to say they want to help create it. Now, of course, not every African economy or every African country has an economy that might be able to do that. But I think these signs coming from particular countries is very much encouraging. And I think what also I love about what's happened, because that's one of the pros, I think, of COVID, is that there's already been that sort of mindset shift happening on the continent, where we're beginning to value our own. We're beginning to look to ourselves for solutions rather than look to the West. And I think what it did in this instance was to really bring that together in a way where we went, we are going to do this. We're going to help our own citizens. We're not going to look to the West for our solutions. You see it with Madagascar coming up with a health solution to COVID. And I think it's already been started, but you see it sort of gaining a bit more momentum. And COVID has definitely allowed that to happen in a more tangible way, where people are going, yes, people have just turned their backs on the West and gone, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to fight for our own people. The same, I believe, with Ghana, where Ghana, made it a point that they were going to produce masks for Ghanaians, not for the outside world. The same with places like Kenya as well. And I think that is what I've been wanting to see for God knows how long. Like, we need to rise up. We need to take control. We need to take back. And we don't need the West. We've never needed them. We've been brainwashed to believe that we need them. And we're coming into our own and realizing that we've never needed them. They need us. And it's about time we got on the front foot. And I think it's the beginning of that happening now. Our generation and the generation coming up, we're not playing. We're not playing.
We're literally coming after everything, and it's so important. And I love that you kind of ended on that, because we're going to go on to our next guest. But it's very, very important that we have stories told by us, for us. Our fashion should be seen everywhere we go. The next generation, when they grow up, it should be a norm to wear African print. It should be bold. It should be norm to be wearing bold colors. So thank you so much, Mariatu, for speaking with us. We're going to have you back on again. But thank you very much for your gems, your amazing inspiration. Thank you so much, guys. That was Mariatu. As you saw, she gave us some gems, and it was beautiful. And I hope that people really took in what she said. She was speaking from the heart there. So now we're going to move on to our next guest. Hello.
Okay. Hi. Start again. I was muted. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. That was amazing, Mariatu. Everybody else who's spoken, it's been such nuggets have been coming from them. I'm inspired.
Very inspired. First of all, we have the comments on the ensemble, the headscarf. We're rocking headscarves today. Okay. Please think, yes, the beauty. Now, Jacqueline Shaw is the director and sourcing agent from African Fashion Guide. So please, Jacqueline, if you can just tell us how you started and what inspired you. Why fashion? First of all, why fashion?
Awesome. So I've been doing fashion. Well, I'm a designer by trade. So I'm an industry designer. I've worked for brands and retailers. I've lived around the world as well, in China, in Turkey, in Germany, and in the UK, working for brands and retailers. And so that's my career. But it was me exploring my own heritage, which linked from, I always tell this story about my grandfather, who was from a group of people, or they would say tribe of people, called the Maroon tribe. That was what they were called. And when he passed, I wanted to explore my heritage from Jamaica back to Africa and to learn a bit more. And I was really, really taken aback by how powerful, strong these people were. And it just made me say, let me just go and explore Africa a bit more and find out a bit more about myself, I guess. I've always looked towards Africa as a Black woman in the UK, but that was like a turning point for me when that happened. I mean, when I went over to the continent, my first sub-Saharan African trip was to Ghana. Ooh. And I just fell in love. Yeah, I know. I just fell in love. I've been to North Africa before, but I'd never been to sub-Sahara at the time. And I'm a textile lady, so all the textiles. I love the hand-woven cloth. I love African-made artisanal products, fabrics as well. So that really kind of kick-started my interest to explore to tell the stories, to raise more awareness, to look at the whole supply chain. And I did an ethical fashion master's and looked at the full supply chain of Africa's fashion and textile industry, from the cotton through to the design floor, through to the manufacturing floor, through to retail, and the shows, of course. But I was really interested in from the raw material to the finished product. And I started to share that, and then birthed my business, Africa Fashion Guide.
Now we have to talk about the fact, I think, especially with last year being the year of return and everyone going home and, you know, getting connected to their roots. And out of that, you know, you've birthed this amazing company, African Fashion Guide. Now for you, what has been the most impactful thing through this discovery of going back to Ghana and learning about the textiles and the trades and everything?
There's been many, many things. First of all, that because I've been to quite a few African countries now. So because of my business, I do sourcing for brands, for new designers, new companies who want to get into the African market. And if retailers get in contact, they want to enter Africa, but they don't know how, because many are scared. Many are, it's a lack of awareness. They don't know how, they don't know what to expect. It's like, you know, untouched land for them. So they're a little bit scared about that. So for me, there's been a lot of recognizing my own biases that have been caused from the industry, from being in Europe and all of that, and just kind of breaking that and then sharing more stories, not from my perspective, but from the stories of those who are on the ground. So they're speaking and saying how it is to have a fashion business in Africa. And it's very different from when times I've gone to Asia or European factories, manufacturers. The industry is similar, but it's very different as well. So I'm seeing a lot of differences, similarities, and newness. And that's the kind of the messages that I share in my business.
Wow. So for you, Nancy Mika is saying, hey, Jacqueline, my business coach. So for you, obviously the one topic we have to discuss about, obviously, is going to be COVID-19. I don't think anyone expected it. No one knew that something so small could infiltrate the industries at the way that it's doing so far. So for you, for somebody who actually traveling is one of your main things that you have to do in order for you to do your job, how has it affected you? And how have you been able to kind of manage or work your way through what's happening?
Okay, so with Africa Fashion Guide as the main business, through that we organize trips to the continent. I say the continent because we go to various countries. So we was due to go to Ghana to meet manufacturers. I'd bring a group of people, businesses who want to meet manufacturers, artisans, and so forth. And we were planning to go in April. I also had plans to moderate and host at a sourcing event a new event in Ivory Coast. And these were cancelled. I was supposed to go to Dakar to be part of an event for Africa Day. So there's 3 Africa trips cancelled between April and May, which were focused on African business and African fashion. Obviously my own specific business trip to bring people. So we've had to move those dates, but we're still unaware. So it's affected opportunities for people to come to the continent. And then with ports closing, so for my private clients who were exporting product samples or production, that's been on the hold until the ports are opening. Many people, you know, even in the continent, they can't even get products that have come in that they're going to be using for their own manufacturing because the ports are not, you know, allowing them to, or not releasing their products. So it's very, very tricky right now, and it's a major industry problem as well.
How do you think the fashion industry will overcome this? Because, I mean, you know, as Claudia said before, a lot of the fashion industry does depend on tourism as well. You know, even for me, I go through Instagram and there's so many things that I want to buy from, you know, Ghanaian-based designers, and I can't get it because I don't know how they're going to send it over because the borders are closed. Can I receive it? All these different things. So what does the African fashion industry now, especially if someone for African Fashion Guide, what do you see is the new normal for the fashion industry after this?
I think just for Africa, I see that first of all, there's been a lot of resilience. I mean, Mariatu brought up a lot of things, what's happening on the continent. In the beginning, when it first locked down, when everything first locked down, because I work with manufacturers, I had quite a few manufacturers contact me You know, we need, you know, we have to convert to masks. I've had manufacturers who do leather bags, and now they're making masks because they had to, and they wanted to import that whilst the ports were still open, just to keep their factories alive and people working. So they've had to pivot to new, that's a classic word right now, pivot to new products in order to keep their business running. You know, just like Claudia was saying, she's got people under her that she's feeling, you know, responsible for, and it's very challenging. So there's that stress of that as well. There's that responsibility. Plus you've got your own family. She's got a family with children. She's got to look after as well. So there is that challenge for them, but I'm seeing a lot have pivoted. Then the government's got involved. Kenya is a very classic one, who are just saying produce for, you know, your own people. Right. And that's an amazing movement that I'm seeing happening. South Africa, I've been seeing a lot of movements there, and everyone's converting and pivoting to new products. Now, the general fashion industry, on the flip side, I've seen, you know, obviously a lot of retailers have shut down, closed shops. You know, Primark is a business that is based on, they don't do online, so they're screwed in that sense. They've lost loads of money. And then I even read just today that Walmart have done, they've pivoted to be selling secondhand clothing to make money during the pandemic. But the negative thing is that a lot of these retailers have pulled out of their summer orders, have pulled out of production that's already been made in countries. And that's the impact of that was going to happen to those who are producing those factories is really, really rife. It's not a good move. So there's so many levels to this, and the impact that is having.
It's actually crazy, but I guess that in this time we're seeing a lot of designers trying to find an opportunity within this thing of what's happening now. What were your thoughts on, as Africans, trademarking our materials? Because there's always a big, you know, and we can see in our comments as well, we're seeing, you know, the back and forth about Ankara print, you know, all these different things. But what do you think about trademarking our materials? Should we or should we not?
See, I'm probably the worst person. I do wear wax print, and then I do have this big discussion about, is it African, is it not African? We know that there are factories on the ground on the continent, not just a Velisco one in Ghana or Ivory Coast, but, you know, there's others who do Kanga Kitenge wax prints in different countries. Now, I think it should be trademarked. There's a lot of copying, but when it comes to things like the Kente, things like this, because it's not a print, so you know, it should be trademarked. It's got a history behind it, and I think it needs to be, because people will just come in, they'll have a look, they like it. I've worked in fashion, so I know we copy. That's what I've been taught to do through the industry, is get inspired and copy things, and it's a really bad habit. But things have to be trademarked. You really have to. And Africa needs to take more ownership of what is African, because there's so much royalty, there's so much amazing creativity on the continent, and what is African needs to remain as African and be under its own trademark. Yes.
And in this time, do you feel like we are now beginning to see Africa kind of rise up, especially now the Western world it's almost like the Western world is shutting down and Africa is rising up. So our music is now popular, our fashion is now being, you know, is more in the front line. Do you feel like now is the time for Africa to go all in, or should we just stay at the pace that we were before?
Oh, no. Africa is the place to be. The thing is, I say to people, look, get on board, because the fact is Africa has already risen. It's doing what it was risen. Things have changed. Is stepping back up. And the fact that Netflix is really investing in African movies, they're noticing that. You know, Facebook, Twitter guy Jack saying he's going to go move over for a few months, or whatever he said around that. You know, Jack Ma of Alibaba, all of these big tech companies, they're smart. And I think you need to look at what's happening and jump on board and say, you know what? They're doing that for a reason. It's not just because it's a trend thing. They're thinking Facebook are like, you know what? There's 8 billion people in the world nearly. Facebook has over 3 billion people on Facebook. How many people in Africa? You know, 40% of the world are going to be African or from the continent by 2100. Facebook want to capitalize on that. You have to think smart the way that they're thinking and say, yes, let me go and do something back home, or, you know, go and touch ground, do something now whilst you can.
Yeah. And honestly, I hope that people who are listening to this conversation are really, truly taking in what these amazing people are saying. I personally feel like Africa's fashion industry is going to grow to a place where even it's going to blow our own minds. We're going to let go of you now, but we're going to have you back on. We have some more questions to ask you guys. But thank you so much, Jacqueline, for all your gems and your amazingness that you're presenting to us today. And we will see you again soon. So, yes, that was Jacqueline. So now we've got our last panel member before we bring them all together. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. This is the first time we're actually. Oh, thank you. I wanted to show something today. This is the first time we're actually speaking for the first time
Right.
on social media. Yes.
We've always been doing Twitter.
But welcome again. So for those who don't know who Ekow Barnes is, he is a model, as you can see this face. He's a writer. He's been in Vogue Italia, GQ SA, many more, and so many other things. So first of all, before we go into the nitty gritty, Ekow, please tell us who you are and what you do and how you got to be the Ekow Barnes that you are.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity. I started off as a model because that was what I started doing for like 4 years, 5 years, which I got signed to my current agency, 20 Model Management. So during that period when I started booking jobs outside doing Fashion Week, what I said to myself was I wouldn't do modeling forever. There should be a career that can also come from. Don't get me wrong, modeling is a career on its own, but then I wanted more because I studied communication in school. So I wanted to do like fashion communication. So I was like, you know what, these are the period where I should try and hone my skill more and also try to connect with these editors, these photographers, these stylists that I work with. So basically that's how I got into fashion, that's how I got into modeling, and now I'm doing contribution for Vogue Italia and JQSA. Yeah.
And how does it feel? I mean, as a Ghanaian, first of all, I'm very, very proud because, you're a young person putting yourselves into these positions as well. And I think it's amazing that, we have somebody like yourself who's a role model to so many young people that aspire to be in Vogue Italia. I mean, you can't just be in Vogue Italia just like that. So how did you get the opportunity to go to GQ and Vogue Italia?
Okay, I think with that, what happened was with GQSA, because there was one period, I think my second season during Fashion Week, that was, I think, AW17. I met the editor backstage. He was out there taking pictures. You know how they do it during Fashion Week. So I just said to him, like, oh, I would one day want to work with you as a model. And he's like, oh, sure. So he gave me his card and I kept it. So I came back home and we were, I think, getting into Lagos Fashion Week that period. And I was like, no, this season I'm not going to do any runway. Let me just try to pitch to these editors just to see if it will work out. So I sent a pitch to them, and all he said was, I really love the idea of you covering men's fashion in West Africa. So why not? Even though we are going to put you on trial, we are not going to pay you like the stipulated amount, like how they give to freelance. But I just want to see if you can do it. I went out, I did it, and it came out very good. So afterwards, I realized, okay, this is something I really love to do, and this is something I would want to do. Why not take advantage of that and work towards that? So aside the GQ, I then went ahead with Vogue Italia, which I met Sarah in Lagos too. We got connected, and I explained my idea to her as to what I would want to do to contribute to African fashion, especially with emerging talent. Yeah.
That's amazing. So now you are writing, doing all these amazing things. And then again, as the topic is COVID-19 and how it's affected you and your industry. So obviously I know that you being a writer, you're not commuting as much as you would, let's just say. How has coronavirus affected you and your work during this time?
It has really affected me because I don't know if you follow me, so you see most of the works. I'm basically into more of like the creative direction aspect in terms of production. Whenever I'm doing a story, I make sure I'm part of the story. I just don't say, okay, because I'm writing, just get your pictures to me or something. I'm big into the production aspect. So there was a lot of jobs that we were supposed to do for this year, but due to COVID-19, we had to put that on hold because it involves meeting people, involves going out there. So yeah, I couldn't really accomplish all that, and most of the jobs have been cancelled. I got laid off by some client that I was working with because there's no income coming in, so I had to just wait. So it really affected me. Yeah, that's
Wow.
I can't lie.
Wow. So even in this season, what kind of opportunities have you tried to create for yourself? Because I mean, you know, fashion is something that is 24 hours. So even within yourself, what opportunities have you tried to create amidst everything that's happening?
Okay, so what happened was, I think for the first 2 weeks, I was really not having it mentally. So I just went off creatively. I wasn't doing anything in regards to that. But after 2 weeks, what I said to myself was, I need to find new ways in doing things because COVID is here. And as a creative, you shouldn't let this really hold you back and say, okay, you're not going to do anything creatively. So what I said to myself, I was going to find new ways in doing things and also how best I can reinvent myself because the world is moving regardless of COVID or not. So you as a creative, you as a designer, you as a writer, you as wherever that you are, don't sit and wait for COVID to go. COVID is there. What are you doing? There are so many ways you can find, or there are so many opportunities out there now that you can do. So like I remember Claudia mentioning about even with designers, don't say because of COVID you would want, you can be at home, but then what? Find new ways of creating, like even design, go into like PPEs, go into mask and all that. So I said to myself, I'm going to start writing, but then it will be more on what COVID related content.
Yeah.
So I pitched again to my editor about a story at home that I would want to do with like a lot of these local celebrities, both Ghana and Nigeria. So I liaised with the editor and we started doing this GQ live chat with like musicians and all that across Ghana, Nigeria, and but I was mainly into the West African bit. So yeah, that was what happened during that period. I mean, during this period, I never made COVID let me down. That okay, you know what? Because I'm in the system. I wouldn't want you to work. I just need to find new ways to do things. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to wrap up on that, where do you see the fashion industry going now, especially with everything that's happening? You know, we're not always going to be able to go to the fashion weeks just yet. Where do you think fashion will be going from here?
I think for now the narrative is a bit changing, which we need to adjust. But then I think with fashion weeks, it's a bit okay because maybe the earth needed that rest where it was just too much. We were just traveling every now and then to and fro, emission of gases and all that. So we needed that rest too. Yeah. But in terms of fashion, fashion shows like maybe twice in a year now that I think now it's going to be cut down. I loved what Anifa did with her 3D virtual fashion show. That really is really good. But like, it's not going to be a sustainable event. It's just for a short term because a time comes where everyone will get tired of it. And by then we'll have a vaccine to what? COVID. So in as much as now there's new invention of 3D, people doing virtual show and all that, it get to a point where people get tired of it. But then what they can do is they can still use their collection, maybe they're like the
You're breaking up a bit.
And if they want to do fashion show, this time
I think we're having Echo. You're breaking up a bit, but okay. Once Echo comes back again, but as you guys, we have our full panel back with us again. Here to answer some more questions. We didn't get to delve in with Kwaku. So Kwaku, before we go into the questions that we have for the group, the one thing I definitely wanted to ask you, with being the chocolate man that you are, chocolate clothing, how has coronavirus affected your brand? Because I mean, through everything that was going on the year of return, I know a lot of people were looking to come back, to come and do a collaboration with chocolate clothing. So how has it affected you?
Yeah, I mean, affect it's been, it's both positive and negative. I think for us, predominantly, we've always been a bespoke brand. So we tend to deal with clients more on a personal basis. And, that definitely was or has been affected. You did again say about tourism, which has been over the past 3 years, even the launch of Year of Return, during Year of Return, and even now post year of return, or a lot of clients, a lot of folks who came out during last year, who came on a holiday basis, decided to now start looking into businesses and how best they could leverage, etc. And so for us, being a brand that has always been that has been moving in that direction, definitely there has been some means of, some downside to it. Last year, we actually moved into town. We've always been in West Legon, which has not really been in town. We actually got a shop in the heart of town, Kempinski, actually, to be precise. And you can imagine, with the hotel almost closing down, well, because of COVID, and people generally not visiting Ghana, you can imagine how quiet the shop has been, But also general business, usually we've always been, we belong in a lifestyle section. So you can imagine a lot of people come to us to make statements. We produce statement pieces, corporate pieces, people looking for corporate looks to, walk into different seminars and walk into different offices looking very dapper and break the ice. Now there's less of that, so then they don't need these clothes. Casual basis, people are looking to go to the beach, people are looking to go to the clubs. All those have been shut down. So then the question is, if they are even coming to buy all these pieces, where are they taking them to? And then so I think generally there's been a downside to business and there's been a lot of cons. But I always say that, with every challenge, I mentioned earlier that I've always been a challenge person. I always love challenges. What this period has given me personally and chocolate is the means to go back to the drawing table and come up with really, really exciting things for post-COVID, and to sort of redirect our focus and come up with real exciting things that or new directions for different clienteles or different people to welcome. But also, I think with the whole talk of masks and PPEs and scrubs, it's without mention, for someone like me, I'm always looking at the bigger picture. I think, for the first time, fashion has been put on the spotlight. A lot of folks a lot of people in Africa generally have never given fashion that sort of serious look. And now that healthcare in general has pulled in fashion, is now time for most of us to now look into ways by which we can look into practical fashion for medical science. We need to start looking into gloves, start looking into lab coats, start looking into even hospitals. How can we, use our concepts, our, all these, how can we redefine medicine? How can we redefine the medical science? So there are a couple of other ideas that, we could all look into, but I'm looking at the big idea and, how the new world has, the place for fashion in the new world that we live in.
New world. Amazing. Thank you so much. So we've got questions for you guys by the viewers that are watching. Because we're short for time, we're going to try and answer as much as we can, briefly as we can. But Melody Willis has asked, Ankara is a Dutch fabric that's been popularized by Africans. How does Ankara benefit the African fashion economy when we aren't the ones manufacturing this fabric? If the Lisco collapses, what happens? And I think if we can, because we're short for time, if we can answer that question as briefly as we can. And I will send that out to Mariatu, actually.
To be honest, there are textiles being produced on the continent, and not only, for example, one of the things that we're trying to work on, God willing, is to try and revive local textiles in Sierra Leone. And as I said earlier, one of the things that COVID is doing is that we're now looking in our own backyard. Now, there are other companies there that I know, and I think Jacqueline would add a bit more to this, that are producing, if you like, the common African prints on the continent. But I think, as I said earlier, one of the good things that will come out of this COVID is that as we look more to our own, there's going to be, I believe, a revival, because people like myself are trying to work on that, of our local textile industries.
Yeah. And so I hope that answers your question, Melody. Another question from Okusia Safo says, Glitz holds various events and is a key date on the social calendar. Claudia, do you have any plans of hosting it later in this year? And if so, what would you do differently? Will it work virtually? Oh, can you hear? Claudia?
Hello, Claudia. I think she needs to.
Oh, can you hear?
Hi.
Hi. Is the sound okay?
The sound is really bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's really bad. I'm going to try. Yeah, can you say what you said again?
So, someone's asked a question.
Yeah,
so, Glitz holds various events and is a key date on the social calendar. Do you have any plans of hosting it later in the year? And if so, how would you do it differently?
Yeah, we are going to have an event, but we are still talking how we're going to have it done. So Fashion Week is in October. So I feel like, I mean, if you talk to all the Fashion Week owners or executive producers in Africa, which we are together, we are on the same association. It's something that nobody is canceling yet because it's in October, but it's just how we're going to do it. We need to, life, as we say, has to go on. The fashion industry needs to survive. The fashion industry still needs to thrive. It needs to be sustainable. And we provide a key thing to the industry. We provide a key platform to the industry. So our purpose is to make sure that how do we still make this happen for our designers, that our partners, that we work, but do it in a very safe manner. So things will not be the same as we've had done, but definitely there's conversations still to have it happen in October. We have Women of the Year, which is end of August. Most of the events are going to be, it's going to be, what is it? You're going to have people there, but not as the number of people that we used to have, but it's still going to be live on TV, social media, and all of that. So we're going to have that. If I can quickly go back and say about the African fabric, Risco is you say it's Dutch, but it's not manufactured there. You know, they also have factories here. They have factories in Africa that manufacture the fabrics as well. So sometimes when we say because it's a Dutch company, it doesn't mean they don't produce any at all. And then also, it's not just Visco. There's GTP. There's Udine. There's tie and dye. There's the schmuck. So we have fabrics. It's not just because we say Ankara, it's just Visco. And they are tie and dye. There's so many. There are designers who are making their own fabrics that are also Ankaras. So I think people need to know that Ankara, it doesn't revolve around Visco. And the whole fabrics and the whole industry designers are not only dependent on Visco. So Visco is a company. They have factories here, but there are other African fabrics as well. The designers work with it.
Right. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that clarity. Akusia Safa also asked, in light of the potential international economic downslide, are you concerned that the fashion industry will struggle to bounce back? And I will pass that to Kwaku to answer this.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I think that we never, like in our industry, really and truly, we never went cold. As I've always said, fashion is a lifestyle. And for even in this state of COVID, everyone here is wearing African-inspired stuff. And so that goes to show that culture definitely is here to stay. So far as we keep all the essentials, we keep all the yardsticks, we keep not forgetting what our names mean, the kind of food we eat, the kind of stuff that we find around us or we get inspired with. Forever and ever, the culture is here to stay. And so that wouldn't be a problem at all. I think what needs to be looked at rather is more and more education on the fact that there are more and more relevant African brands now stepping up and are going global. There's been a lot of issues with people trusting the quality of work that comes from Africa. We need to let people understand that, if you pick up an outfit for $400 and then the African is selling for also $300 or even $400, we need to come to the realization that there's reason for us to build that amount. And so we shouldn't just think that because it's African, it should be worth $40. So and then these are some of the educational elements I think we need to touch on. So definitely it's going to bounce back. We are used to always being flamboyant everywhere we go. Now we are having African print pillowcases, African print curtains, just African inspired things everywhere we go. So we are definitely going to find an entry point in there. But just before I go, I want to talk about this whole conversation about African prints, and it's just going to be just very simple. I feel like we should just be more mindful of the essence and the meaning of some of these fabrics. Okay, Claudia is right. Vlisco, Akosombo Textiles, a lot of other textile companies that are predominantly not African, but they still have factories here in Africa. Yes, they're still contributing one way or the other to the economy over here. But I think the onus lies on us as designers to really start redefining some of these prints, redefining what it means by what you're wearing. We just started making our own kind of fabrics. We're including a lot of symbols and a lot of who we are as Africans and ways by which we used to communicate, which should never stop. So I guess for me, that forms the crux of the conversation on African prints. So yeah.
Also, Mariatu, if you can also comment on your perspective on African print as well, on fabric as well. What is your opinions too?
Well, I'm a bit radical in that because I know people go back to the fact that, yes, there's an Indonesian influence, etc., etc. But I have always maintained the fact that it's just like, when you buy a house. If the owner decides to sell it, in this case, when that particular market no longer wanted it, they flooded the African market. We embraced it. We made it our own. We've transformed it into what it is today. We've given it a global presence. So for me, it's a non-starter when we start to have those conversations about, it started off in Indonesia. I go back to this argument that when you sell a house and it's sold, the person that bought it, i.e. us, we took this on and, made it into what it is. It's ours. So for me, that's where the argument sort of cuts off. But the gentleman was rightly saying just now, there are a lot of textiles on the continent that, again, I think a lot of people aren't even aware of. And one of the things I'm trying to do with some of our Sierra Leone sort of traditional textiles is try and see how we can revive some of those industries, especially for us. We've been through, the war, and a lot of these industries sort of collapsed. And so we're trying to see how we can revive them, because there's a lot of different textiles on the continent, not just the Ankara that we tend to see all the time or what I'm wearing. And I think as we as designers go back and look back home and look in our own backyard and revive these things, you'd see the, if you like, plethora of what's out there, in terms of the textiles that are on the continent. And I certainly, I've made a commitment, in fact, and it's just unfortunate that COVID sort of got in the way, but we have things that we've done that we can't get out, as Jackie mentioned, with borders being closed. We can't get some of those prints out, but these are prints that have been made by the local indigenous people that showcase our own Sierra Leonean textiles, and that we'll be bringing into designs that will again help to I guess, have that conversation about, it's just not centered on what I'm wearing, the sort of Ankara print or that kind of thing, but there's more to it.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mariatu, for that. So to wrap up, the last final statements we must have. A question that I'm going to ask everybody, but within 1 minute, because we're literally short for time. What tips would you give designers at this time to survive during COVID-19? So this is going to be for everybody that's on with us now. So 1 minute, just give us your tips for designers who are watching on how to survive. So I'll start off with you, Jackie, if you can start off.
Okay, so I always take it back to the manufacturing and working together with your suppliers. Really keep in touch with them. Really continue to work with them, and look at new ways. Like one of the questions was about digital as a way to connect with your customers. I've seen a lot of lives happening on Instagram and so forth. This is a way to keep conversations going. Don't just come away because we're in COVID. Pivot and look at new ways to connect with new customers. We're all online now. Take advantage of this opportunity, but still continue to communicate and work with your manufacturers on the continent.
Okay, thank you so much. Kwaku?
Well, I think, this period has offered us all an opportunity to go back to our drawing board and, use inspiration from wherever we find ourselves, which is predominantly where we are from. And so, I think my tip is to urge all designers to be innovative. Innovation is what is going to get us to conquer the world. All these copying and all these plagiarism and all these replicates that a lot of designers end up doing because they feel like it will gain them recognition. This period has given us an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and then go look at ways by which we can all become relevant by innovating. So, I like to urge every designer to be innovative and use this period to come up with fresh ideas.
Thank you so much. Great tips there. And Mariatu?
I think to stay relevant, what's going to be really important, especially what I see now, is that consumers are becoming a lot more reflective, a lot more conscious. And I think what we have to do as designers is not just offer a product, but think about what more are you offering the customer, the consumer. People are buying into a cause. So think about what difference are you making? What's the impact that you're going to have? It's just no longer, I think consumers are no longer going to be satisfied to just say, here, I've got a beautiful product. It's what difference are you making? How can they buy into a cause that's much bigger? Because I think that's what people are looking for, as this sort of period brings about a reflective kind of mood in people, they're going to be looking for that. So we need to know what is it that makes, what impact it is, and to really know how to sell the story behind that brand, the story, what makes you different. You're going to be able to, you have to be able to understand your why and convey that and show people how you're making an impact, how them buying into you and investing in your brand is going to make a change and make a difference.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. And lastly, we have Claudia. So, Claudia, the question was, because we're going to round up real quick, what tips would you give designers at this time to survive during COVID-19?
Yeah. So my tips for designers during the COVID-19, I will say, fashion is number 2. Globally, when you take finance, it's number 2 biggest employer, one of the biggest industry. It's a $1 billion industry. Mind you, if you take essential, if you take food from it, I will put fashion as essential as well. Clothes, I mean, because we cannot go out naked, right? So people will forever need clothes. So if designers, if you ever feel like, oh my God, what is going to happen? I have to drop my scissors, drop my machine. I'm not going to wear, I can't come out of this. Just think about those 2 things. Just think about it. People are, they were, I was listening to this man on a research, and he was mentioning that billions of money get spent on fashion in the fashion industry. On Oxford Street, billions of money. Where do you think that money is? We've been on lockdown. we're coming out and we're easing ourselves, but be mindful that that money will be spent. That money will be spent. It will maybe reduce because a lot of people have lost jobs and everything, but they are still not going to go without clothes. They are still not going to go without shoes. Their kids, they have to shop for kids. So are you ready though? How are you coming out of this pandemic ready when people are ready to spend that billions of money? You need to be ready for your share, but you need to be ready for it. So if this is the time for you to maybe look at your business again, maybe look at the fabrics you're using again, maybe look at your strategy, look at your website, everything. This is the time. Maybe it's God's own way of telling you that pause and look at your business again. So when we come out of this, you are ready to fly. And you are going to make that, you're getting some billions of money because it's still going to be spent. Yeah.
I love that. I'm ready to spend all these pounds that I've been saving. I'm ready to come to Accra. I'm ready to spend on each and every one of you guys' the brand products because honestly, I've learned so much about the fashion industry. I've learned so much on each and every one of you guys. Kwaku, I'm coming straight to chocolate clothing when I'm in Ghana. I'm coming to see everybody. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Mariatu. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Jackie. And also thank you, Ekow, who we've lost. But thank you guys so much for giving us your time and for giving us some gems on how we can overcome and what we're going to be seeing in the near future. And if you guys do want to follow them up, please make sure you follow them on social media. If there's any questions that you wanted to ask but didn't get to ask, please make sure that you go message them. Ask them these questions. They don't bite, they're here, we're talking. And please make sure that you get your questions answered. Follow them, support them, especially in this time, support Black-owned businesses. And again, thank you so much. And we wish you guys all the best with everything that's going on. And I can't wait to see everybody post-COVID-19. So thank you so much again. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, GUBA Enterprise, and rock your African prince.